Boots ready. How are you, sir? Hi, Mark.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of January 8th to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Shillette.
Here.
Pickens. Present. Smith. Velasquez. Present. Vice Chairman Fuller. Chairman Vieira. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Invocation by Pastor Dwayne Clark of Grace Chapel.
Just want to say thank you, all of you, for serving your community. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, I do thank you for your faithfulness and for these who serve faithfully. We pray that you would guide these proceedings by your Holy Spirit. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public business from the floor, agendized items. Citizens who would like to address the Criminal Justice Commission on any agendized item may do so when the item is being considered by the Commission. Please complete a speaker card and identify the agenda item you would like to discuss. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Okay, consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th? Is there a second?
A second.
Please vote. Motion passes. At this time, we'll have our staff presentations of updates and reports. Jim?
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. Commissioner Shillette, I'm sorry. And this measure, or this particular report, covers the measurement period of December 1st to the 28th, 2013. These data represent weekly breakdowns of our Part 1 crimes, arrests, and total arrests, and number of reports drawn during the reporting period. Everything's pretty much in a normal range for us. There isn't any real big outliers or anything like that. In fact, really, it's pretty low for us, so it's good news there. As we take a look at comparing our November report that we gave, there was no December report, to January, our weekly average for Part 1 crimes during our November report was 72.8. During this reporting period, that's dropped down to 70. Our weekly median was 76, and our weekly median this time is 70.5. Excuse me. This is roughly January through December of last year. These are, again, preliminary numbers. The final numbers have not been provided by the Sheriff's Department yet, but preliminarily, when we compared December 2013 to December 2012, we're down about 2% in Part 1 crimes. As far as our January to December 2013 crime rate goes, right now it's sitting at about 274.48, which is down 1.7 points from December of, or from what would have been the December 2013 report. Our crime rate for 2012 was 279, so you can see that we're showing another good decline in that area. As we take a look at reporting districts during this reporting period for Part 1 crimes, 1135 led the way with 43, followed by 1126 with 37, 1137 with 31, 1127 with 28, 1121 with 21. It's important to understand the areas. I'll show you here in how it lays out on the map, but when we take a look at it, you can see, like with 1135 here, our primary Part 1 crime activity was in a half-mile radius, basically, of the commercial area at 20th Street East and Avenue J. And that's pretty symptomatic of what we saw over the course of this reporting period leading up to the Christmas time. That's where you have your heaviest traffic, or foot traffic and vehicle traffic, and opportunities for Part 1 crimes. So we take a look at Reporting District 1126. That includes the area down here at 10th Street West and Avenue K. And as you can see, that area was pretty heavy with Part 1 crime activity, larcenies and vehicle thefts and a couple of robberies. .1137, which is the area that's immediately south of 1135, you can see again just almost a mirror of what was north. That's the Part 1 crimes that were, again, within about a half-mile radius of the commercial area at 20th Street and Avenue J. For 1127, the primary activity was along Valley Central Way. You can see that over here, and the rest of the 1127 was relatively crime-free. And then we have 1121, and the vast majority of the activity involved there is within about a half-mile radius of Avenue I and 10th Street West. Residence burglaries, 1137 led the way with 10, 1133 had 7, 1135 had 6, and 1127 had 4. Again, for what we've seen in the past, these numbers I think are pretty good, especially for this time of year. When you take a look at that, those are not bad numbers, especially for what we've seen in the past. Larcenies involving vehicles, 1126 and 35 both had 6 larcenies, 1137 had 4, and 1124 had 3. Excuse me. When we take a look at the 52-week trends, we see an escalation in robbery. One of the points that I wanted to make with this uptick in robbery, in Lancaster, we're seeing essentially the same thing that they're seeing nationwide, and that is the theft of or mobile telephones and iPads and other kinds of tablets. If you read a lot of these robbery reports, what we had were individuals that were walking in public areas, either public parking lots, sidewalks, bus stops, things like that, and somebody would approach them from the rear when their awareness was down because they were actually talking on the device while they were in these areas, and they basically snatch it out of their hands and take off down the street. One of the things that we can do to combat that as citizens is when we're walking in those areas where we don't have a good situational awareness or where there's a lot of people moving a lot of times, or there are areas for people to conceal themselves, just put those phones away until you get inside. If you do that, we can bring this number down significantly. It's not that talking on the phone while you're walking is necessarily a bad thing. A lot of folks have put off talking on the phone while they're driving a vehicle, so when they finally park their car and they get out and they're wanting to walk into the grocery store, they're wanting to go into a department store, you know, they've waited and put off that telephone call, or maybe it rings, and now they're getting out of the car. If they're going to talk on the phone during that time period, it might be best for them to just remain in the car, in the secured vehicle, until they get done with their conversation, then walk in, or do the conversation once they get inside. That helps them control the environment around themselves. If we do that, we can bring this number down pretty substantially. You can see a slight uptick in residence burglary, but the uptick that we see there was in week 48. There was a slight uptick where we were above our baseline. But really, if you take a look at this for the Christmas season, if you look over on the right of the display, look at where we were at for the weeks leading up to Christmas. This is pretty impressive. And if you do that, you go back to week 43 of 2013 before we saw anything that was above the baseline. other than the week 48. So if this trend continues, I believe that we'll see perhaps during the next reporting period the trend line shift from up to down, or at least to flat. Grand theft autos are showing a slight upward trend. The reason for that is we saw the uptick back in week 44, where we had basically about 18 auto thefts, and we're waiting for that to kind of cycle through. Now you can see the subsequent weeks after that were quite a bit lower. Same way with arson. Again, arson's a relatively low frequency crime for us, and so we had a couple of weeks where we had 3 arsons that are in this half of the 52 weeks, so it looks like we're trending up. But you can see during the reporting period, weeks 49, 50, 52, we had 1 reported arson in each of those weeks, so it's on its way back down. See some positive movement in the crime of rape. You can see that we've moved during our last reporting period. We were showing an upward trend in that. We can see now that that's flattened out and is almost beginning to show a downward trend. If that continues, we'll see that progress in the next reporting period as well. For assault, you can see that we're well below the baseline. The baseline for assaults, we average 15.09 assaults per week in Lancaster, and you can see our trend line is way down here at about 8 per week. So we're doing really well with assaults. Homicide, again, a very low frequency crime for us. You can see the downward trend there. That speaks for itself. And this is the thing that's really helping us, is the frequency of larceny out there. When I say helping us, if you take a look during the early part of the year, we had several weeks where we were well above our baseline. Our baseline for larceny is 40.43 per week, and you can see from about week 36 on, we really had some pretty low numbers come in, and that really helps us in our Part 1 crimes, because this is our highest frequency Part 1 crime. This is our the way the Part 1 crimes laid out over this reporting period. You can see where they're at and where the reporting districts are that had the highest densities. This is our spatial trend analysis, and basically this tells us where during this reporting period where crime went up by the red and pink areas and where it went down by the green areas. As we take a look at calls for service, you should have a copy of that report in front of you. It was really relatively low during this 4-week period. You can see that there were only 6 addresses on the repeat call list, and all of them are pretty standard addresses for us. Antelope Valley Hospital, again, they always lead the way because they have they're required statutorily to report to police when certain things roll into the emergency room. The Lancaster Sheriff's Station, because when people come in to report a crime at the desk, they have to call a deputy in out of the field. Walmart East, Hacienda Mobile Home Park, Arbor Court Apartments, and Walmart West, and that's pretty much it. This is how they laid out on the map, and this is our forecast for January 2014. In December, we forecasted 353 Part 1 crimes. We had an actual of 381 for an average of 93%. Our forecast for 2014 is 349. You'll notice that forecast is a little lower than the forecast for December. If we meet those numbers, we'll have a pretty good month. And that's it. Questions?
Thank you, Jim. Any questions?
I just wanted, thank you, Mr. Cobalt, for your presentation. I just wanted to go back to the cell phone iPad thefts. That in your discussion, I also wanted to kind of go over with the community what a serious type of theft that is, because it goes beyond just the mere theft of the iPhone itself. For most of us, it's a benefit and a negative effect of having such a, good way of accessing your business through your iPhone itself. However, the downside is that by just stealing this type of iPhone, they have access to your family photographs, your emails, bank accounts. So it's a very serious type of theft that will put any family, person, individual, friends, whatnot, in a potential serious danger with access to all this confidential personal information. So I thank you for emphasizing that particular area, and I think that it is best to advise everyone to securely, conceal their cell phones and use them when they're in a safe area.
Well, and the other thing is that it's a good rule for us to follow wherever we're at, regardless of whether we're in the city of Lancaster or not, because this is a problem that goes from the East Coast to the West Coast and from north to south. The International Association of Chiefs of Police have taken this on as something that they're looking at right now because it's affecting everybody. The number out of New York City, I think it was staggering. Something like 60 to 70% of their thefts right now are related to these phones. And we haven't seen those kind of numbers. Ours hover right around between about 40 and 50%. But it's one of those things that if folks are just think about it before they just pick it up and start walking and talking, that would reduce the numbers for us significantly.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Jim. Jim, when are they going to release the numbers for the 2013 Part 1 crime rate?
Well, what I gave today was what it was as of this morning, but I think generally the Sheriff's Department gives until about the 15th for those final numbers for the year. So I would anticipate somewhere around probably the 15th for us to have something, unless the captain has some.
Actually, I believe they have a press conference scheduled for tomorrow.
Okay.
Where they'll release. They locked most of the numbers down yesterday, so I anticipate that we'll actually get a look at our numbers sometime today, and then they'll be released publicly probably tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, again, thanks, Jim. Arrest statistics, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year. I have the following statistics for the months of November and December. Regarding the burglary suppression team, their activities show them in the month of November with 21 felony arrests, and December has 27 felony arrests, so they've been pretty consistent back-to-back months there. Parolee arrests of those 21 and 27 are one each for each one of those months. Search warrants, 6 of them were executed in November and 5 were in December. One of the most staggering differences, obviously, as you can see down here at the bottom, there's $65,000 worth of recovered stolen property in the month of December. They were very successful in the month of December, specifically with 3 suspects that were arrested that were all 3 were gang members. 3 handguns were recovered, and a significant amount of stolen property, which solved close to about 7 or 8 different residential burglaries, was recovered just from that single incident and arrest, outside from the other production they had throughout the rest of the month. So kudos to them, they did very well. Along with the Lancaster team also, in comparison, they have a large number of felony arrests in the month of December with 24 and also a 19. Misdemeanor arrest, 1 and 0. Firearms that were recovered, was 4. Also, of these arrests, 2 of them were parolees for each one of the months also for felony arrest. And then they were pretty steady as far as how much estimated illegal narcotics was seized from the streets, with 1,700 and 1,600 respectively. The narcotics team also, November and December comparisons, they had 5 felony arrests compared to 3 in December. Meth in the amount of grams of 112.05 to almost 71 grams. Marijuana arrest was more significant in November than December. They didn't have any in the month of December. But the firearms arrest also were consistent in November with the amount of activity that they had versus December. You could see that they had 2 more search warrants in November versus December. And then also we want to make it known that we received a lot of support from our community in our community relations office. We did a toy drive where over 600 toys were recovered or were received through sheriff personnel, sheriff employees, and the general public. And we had a box also here at City Hall where, like I said, over 600 toys were recovered. Those toys were distributed to the pediatric ward at Antelope Valley Hospital, Valley Oasis Domestic Violence Shelter, and also through different other church communities. And then about 100 were also distributed on Christmas Eve by patrol deputies to different calls that they would go to where children were involved in crimes. And then this picture specifically was a collective efforts from the Antelope Valley Sheriff's Boosters, who were very generous in donating over 200 new and used repaired bicycles, along with Grace Chapel, who also helped us coordinate the distribution of this. Pastor Rob, I believe, also helped us out with that. And this is a picture of one of 7 different community home locations, houses where parents would get together and assemble the bicycles that were going to be given to their children on Christmas. So this was done on the Friday and the Saturday prior to Christmas, and it was very much a worthwhile event. And at least about 300 local children were in that program that received bicycles, and it was. I was glad to be a part of it, and it was a lot of fun for the holiday season to do something like that. And that's all we have to report.
Mike, can you talk about the what you did at the University of Antelope Valley?
Oh, yes, sir. Going with the giving season, we also were invited by the University of Antelope Valley, who had their 7th annual Caring for the Community event. And what they do is they open up to the community with needy families. They provide a very good turkey dinner for the family at no cost. And then after they're done with their meal, then they go in to see Santa Claus. And all the kids, you just see their faces brighten up with the holiday season, because unfortunately most of them aren't going to have a gift outside of that program. And close to about 2,000 families or 2,000 people were there. The line was stretching out the door, and we just kept giving and giving and giving, and the kids were very receptive to it. And you could tell that it was very touching to a lot of the parents there, and they were very receptive to the generosity that the University of Antelope Valley gave. And the Sheriff's Department was also there to help present gifts to the kids. So it was very much another exciting event to be a part of.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike?
So, also bicycles were also donated for that event from the Antelope Valley Sheriff's Boosters.
Not a question, but just a statement, and just very much a thank you to the Sheriff Boosters, because I was able to be a part of one of the bike giveaways. But they made it possible for Neighborhood Impact to distribute the bicycles to the neighborhood and to the community, and they were made aware that it came from the Sheriff Boosters and able to interact with yourself as well. And that was very huge. For some of the homes, the parents actually were given the bikes, came and assembled the bikes, and then they gave the bikes to their children on Christmas morning. And that went a long way with the parents. So they were very thankful, and we're very thankful to the Sheriff Boosters for that. Thank you very much.
As a member of or director of the Sheriff's Booster Club, that was one of our main goals, was to have the young people who are in need and whose families usually end up on the other side of the law, trying to get them to see the good side of the sheriff's deputies, where instead of just coming to arrest them, they're coming to bring them something for Christmas. And that was part of our goal. And again, I want to thank Marvin for chairing this and getting this going. But it's, as you said, it's very well received, and it just gets the kids and their parents to see another side of the sheriff deputies, and we want to thank you guys for that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any questions? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Okay, California Highway Patrol update.
Morning, everyone. Happy New Year to you. In looking at our fatal picture for the year, I don't have the numbers, unfortunately, but I do believe that we're up. We're looking at a total of 27 traffic collisions with a total of 35 deceased. 11 of those collisions were in Lancaster with 14 deceased. In looking at the cause, the overwhelming cause seems to be unsafe turning movement, which normally is somebody running off the roadway and then overcorrecting and then crashing their vehicle after that. So that was the overwhelming one. The next one up was was speed, followed by failure to stop or yield for a stop sign, and then final DUI was only 3. So I'm actually pleased that our DUI efforts are coming to play here, and we're down on that. And that equates over to our DUI arrests. For this year, we had a total of 665, and last year we had a total of 853. So that's actually one of those numbers I'm pleased that is going down. Our felony arrests are made consistent at 15 for 2013 as well as 2012. And in looking at our Chips for Kids toy drive, we set a goal of 4,000 toys, and we had set that same goal last year, and we only got 3,400. So this year we doubled our efforts, and we did a Stuff-A-Bus with our partners Walmart, Sam's Club, and Walgreens. And at the end of our 3-week period, we ended up with 4,700 toys that we were able to distribute to the community. So we're very, very pleased, very happy. I was out there on the weekends, and we would have people come up, just give us a few quarters. Some people would come up and they would give us a $100 bill. So it was wonderful to see the community come together, knowing that the toys stayed within the Antelope Valley. So it was just like with the sheriffs and the warm feeling that they received, our officers, same thing as well, being able to give back to the community, interact with the community, with Grace Resources and with OASIS and all of these worthy organizations. It was wonderful. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, District Attorney update.
Good morning. It's I'm very pleased to be back. Some of you know I was gone for 14 months. I was deployed to Afghanistan for 14 months, so it's very nice to be back here. And I can say, and I don't mean to digress, but I was on a general staff there, and the whole purpose was to ensure a country that would not allow a safe haven for Al-Qaeda, so that they would not attack us, which is put an affront to our constitutional liberties. And I do applaud. I've said this before, but I think commissions such as this is very, very valuable, because you work on a very local level. We all work together as a team to make sure that the citizens of this valley are able to enjoy their constitutional rights and not be affected by people who don't care about their constitutional rights. And so I've gone from very big scale back down to this smaller, more intimate scale, but in many ways this is just as important. And I do applaud you, and I am very, very pleased to be back. Just going over some of the numbers, last year the Antelope Valley filed a total of 3,835 felonies. Now, obviously, as I've indicated before when I've been here, that encompasses Palmdale and all the other outlying areas. It doesn't make itself just Lancaster. However, it is fewer than San Fernando, and it's on par with Van Nuys. So I think a decrease, we've been seeing a decrease actually from last year. The amount of misdemeanors we filed is still, we file the most in any of the branches, and the total amount of misdemeanors filed is 8,194. And then several other cities. Obviously, that's still going to be lower than what the LA City Attorney files. And East LA files more cases than we do, as does West Covina. We've tried last year a total of 144 jury trials. That's a significant amount of jury trials. And that's a good, in my opinion, that's a good thing, because what you can rest assured of, that especially on serious and violent felonies, we hang tough on those dispositions and make sure that an appropriate and just disposition is given, where some other branches might be forced to be a little more lenient to move the cases. on the serious, violent ones of import, we can make sure that an appropriate disposition is given, and if need be, we'll go to trial on it. And 144, I believe, is more than any other branch in the county, so I'm very pleased at these figures that I've seen having returned. And that would conclude my portion, absent any questions.
Any comments, questions? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, Business Watch Subcommittee, Public Safety Update. Lee?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone. Looking forward to another good year here as we impact our community in a positive way from this commission. That being said, what I'd like is for the commission to consider prior to the next meeting, some goals and objectives for this commission for this continuation throughout this year, some things you would like to see from us as far as presentations or information that you'd like to receive and become aware of community issues to bring those forward, and also where we'd like to see, obviously with the crime stats and everything coming out tomorrow, I'm sure we'll have a very lengthy discussion on where we're at as we compare to prior years and what our future holds. So, also, I've provided you a copy of a study that was put out by the Public Policy Institute of California regarding AB 109 and its impact on crime rates in communities as it's been implemented in the state of California. That's some homework for us to have a discussion. I'd like to have a presentation and discussion about that also in February. We've had some significant impact of those issues here, and truthfully, as this program, you'll see in this study, has impacted all communities, it's truly incredible that we've been able to manage the crime rate at the rate we've been able to do, facing all the obstacles that have been thrown up in our way as it relates to this assembly bill. So it's interesting reading. It was actually, it's very forthright and direct about the impact that it's been, and I'd definitely like to visit that as it affected us in a local community. It's encouraging to see, based on Jim's stats, all the implementation of programs we've done with the cooperation of our local agencies and the Public Safety Office as it relates to larcenies. You know, it was a huge push the last quarter of the year, specifically as it relates to holiday crime. You know, we had law enforcement out there in big numbers out in the community for a holiday safety program. The deputies worked in a high visibility type mode, walking in the shopping centers, and I think that, along working with the business and improvement group businesses and making that awareness out there, has really paid off big dividends for us as it relates to that, and we're going to continue on with those programs. One of the goals for our office this year as it relates to Neighborhood Watch is I'd like to put an emphasis on this, especially the first quarter of the year, on our senior watch and our multifamily units, and really develop those apartment watch programs, especially in the central part of the city here. You know, we have a significant number of multifamily units down here with a large number of seniors, and with specific issues that relates to downtown here. So that's one direction I'd like to go for the first quarter. The captain has done some reorganization of his resources at the station. That's actually going to help us more out of the Public Safety Office to identify those quality of life issues in the community and address those more directly with a good cooperation between the deputies and our office. And that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to a positive year. And again, any input that you'd like, any information that you need or things, just please direct those to Britt or I, and we'll definitely get that information to you and present that.
Thank you, Lee. Any comments or questions for Lee?
I was struck by the figures in here that indicated that incarceration, that is the dollar, the return on crime reduction or dollar of incarceration is much lower than the return on crime reduction from policing.
Correct.
In fact, it's considerably greater than one for every dollar that's spent for policing. So is there any anticipation that somebody might shift resources to your knowledge based on this study?
I believe, that the study was requested and it was put forth, and looking at some of the issues, and especially recent developments within the Sheriff's Department and the county jail system, and as that relates to this issue, we already have an issue with numbers. There's certain early release policies that are in place based on the sheriff's budget that's provided to him by the county to maintain those jails. So, yeah, there probably should be some community pressures out there, because I believe the rate of reincarceration on some of these individuals is pretty shocking when you look at these numbers, and how the lack of management by the agencies that are accountable for that management is taking place, and what they're actively doing to impact that. And that's part of the discussion I want to have, okay, as everyone gets an opportunity to look through this study, and then from our own personal knowledge locally of what's taking place here, that's why I'd like to have that discussion.
Okay. Anything else for Lee? Okay, at this time, public business from the floor on non-agendized items. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the Criminal Justice Commission on any item not on the agenda. State law prohibits the Commission from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to staff. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
David Paul?
Acting Chair and Commissioners, good morning and Happy New Year to everybody. I love this place. I love coming here. I was present as this commission was born at the LPAC with Sheriff Baca and Mayor Paris putting it together, and I've followed it closely ever since because I understand the good work that is done here. You know, I'm not impressed by what impresses most people. I'm impressed by kindness, compassion, and putting public service ahead of ambition and profit. And I see that everywhere I look around this room. There are truly dedicated people here that serve the community, and I enjoy being with you. One of those people that I admire most is Sheriff Leroy Baca, and I was shocked yesterday to see his resignation, although it's understandable. A few weeks ago, I felt a little bad because I wanted to respond to the letter, the editorial that was in the paper about the sheriff. And through the years, I've gotten to know the sheriff. He's a truly enlightened man who does the best he can, and our county and our city was served well by his service, and I applaud him and I wish him well. I appreciate, Mr. Dorico, you talking about the community outreach. Recently I was at Mental Health America, and I spoke there, and afterwards I was confronted by a few people that live in Arbor Court, and they were telling me about the horror stories, and I went over there and I looked, and little simple things like the security leaves at 4:30 in the afternoon when they need them the most. So I think we could probably put together a few concerned citizens to save law enforcement resources and just have them there, which would be very helpful, a presence. But I look forward to serving this year. Recently, I had a situation where I became aware of the Department of Children and Services' lack of resources that are mainly due to the false reporting that goes on. Over half of their cases are grudges that people bring to harm somebody else in a child custody dispute, and that's got to end. So I'm working with Steve Fox and the Tapestry Commission of the City of Lancaster to write a bill to be enacted in law to put stricter penalties on false reporting, because if you think someone stealing your cell phone is abusive, imagine someone coming into your house and looking in your refrigerator because they told you you were starving your children and having to take a drug test because you wear sunglasses. That's the power they have and the abuse that goes on. So I'll be fighting that. But thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you do.
Yes. Thank you.
Maria Paisano?
Hi there. Hold on one sec. I apologize for being a little late today. My hot water was turned off again. Not that I should bring that before the criminal justice, unless, of course, it is a crime and it's done purposely to maybe alter events or to omit information, possibly not being able to show up because of certain things like that happening. If in fact that is a crime, then to do certain things like that, if it's done purposely, things like that shut off, then I guess it would be all right to bring it before you. Also, in the last 2 years, my internet and cable had been shut down, so the information that I have is basically what I have lived through, what my family and friends have lived through, and what I get through the newspaper, what I read through the newspaper, and things like that. I know that the AV press, a lot of times there's not really too much information in the AV press about any kind of crime or criminal things that go on in this town. There is basically what's in the newspaper for the AV press is a lot of things that go on with businesses and other events that go on in town, which I guess if you read those in a particular way, maybe you could find criminal activity happening there too. I mainly have been going on the AV Times and writing things on there, which is some of the only way that I seem to be able to express or talk about things that have happened. Although things that I write don't always get put on there either. I spent 6 hours writing on the power, the issues with the power plant and things like that, but that was taken and deleted off of there. It was never even put on. It was taken off before it even got a chance to get on. One of the main things that I read about on there when people put their information on there, their blogs on there, is that a lot of the problems is that people say that police don't do anything about the problems that are going on, that they can't talk to the police, they can't go in and file reports, they can't, call the police department up and tell them, situations that have went on, that they don't do anything about it. This is going to be a little bit longer. Can I go over a little bit, because I have a lot of... then I'm not sure. Okay. Recently, there's a lot of issues, but recently I was assaulted in my own home, tried to call the police department, tried to call 911. It was crazy, the people on the other end of the line, that they would, the things that they were asking me and saying to me, and I was wondering why weren't they I was saying, I've been assaulted, my child's been taken, can someone help me? Later I went out in the trash and I find these things in the trash can that show where my seizure had been put on my line that would divert phone calls. So none of my phone calls were going into the police department.
I'm going to have to stop you.
I have these things here.
You might want to consider.
And I wonder how many other people this is happening to, because I hear this.
I can't answer that, but your time limit is up. Thank you.
This is what happens every time, though. And none of these issues get taken care of.
Sorry.
So what do we do?
I would go to the local sheriff's department office.
They won't even take a police report for things. My house has been robbed continuously. We've been assaulted in our own homes. They don't do anything.
Okay.
And
Mr. Chairman, I'll speak with her after we can continue the meeting, and then I'll speak with her right now.
Thank you.
No more speaker cards.
No more speaker cards, okay. At this time, commissioners' comments?
Sure. I would like to say that actually I was a victim of something on the boulevard lately, and the sheriff's department was more than gracious, and I've seen a huge difference on the boulevard in the response as a result to some of the crimes that were taking place. The boulevard has been cleaned up tremendously, so I want to thank the sheriff's department for that, because I saw where certain complaints were made by certain people, and you guys reacted in such a very efficient way. And so I just want to actually applaud you guys for doing such a fine job.
Anyone else? I have two comments. One is to back up about the boulevard. In fact, I think I said this once before. I went to several events on the boulevard during the holidays and have really never felt more safe in the environment than I did at that time. And it was a presence of law enforcement, and as you said, it was a friendly customer service type presence. So, Pat, I want to thank you for that. Second thing is considering this report that Jim gave about the cell phone problem and things of that nature. Lee, it might be something that we want to do as part of our public safety, some type of educational program, advertisements, public service announcements, or something during the holidays especially. It might even be something that we go into our high schools with as part of our, we have the drunk driving thing that the Highway Patrol puts on, and that we might add some of that to our programs, safety, because all you have to do is go to the mall, walk in the parking lot. I drive a golf cart on campus, and I could run over 50 people, and they'd never know they were hit, because you get right up on them, and they're just talking away, have no idea what's around them. But that might be something we want to consider.
We can definitely work with our communications department here at the city, and we can put some public awareness things out there incorporated into our Neighborhood Watch program, as well as the public safety apportionment of the website for the city website. So we'll get some stuff out there, sir.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioners? Okay, next meeting is Wednesday, February 12th, 10 a.m. Happy New Year to all. Meeting is adjourned.